Opportunity comes knocking as Negan's trip out to Hillside to deliver the kind of message only zombie gut-coated weapons can give, gives Rick the opportunity at revenge, Simon an opportunity at advancement, and Maggie, well, she gets an opportunity bigger than she could possibly imagine. A temptation. On this week's The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 12, The Key. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So yes, standard spoiler warnings do apply. Alright, nice episode this week. I thought moving the story forward as we are, but also moving things in some unexpected directions. Certainly not things that I was really thought that we were going to be hitting quite yet. But I have to say, I think that the opening sequence really set the theme really that we had going forward throughout this episode really well, and not in the way, again, that I necessarily expected it to do. We, of course, have the Saviors coating up weapons. Nasty scene. Wonderful zombie work. Again, more great makeup work by Nicotero's crew here. But really just nasty guts coming out and shoving in and getting the weapons all coated and everything like that. And, you know, Negan's talking, just get them in, get them deep, get them done. Really, it's looking like this biological warfare, this old poisoning of weapons. I thought handled beautifully. And the pacing of this also well. Even the music in the background, that slow, consistent kind of boom, boom, boom. It gave a very medieval feel to it, which makes sense. This is sort of where the world's going as technology is crashing down. We are returning to a medieval, even, earlier period like that. So it's sort of the perfect thing also as we have one army heading off to lay siege on another army, Hillside. It works perfectly. Even with the walkers all chained up to the fence right there with their guts pouring out. Again, continue that very medieval feel, which I thought really played beautifully considering all of Georgie's presentation as we get to Maggie at the end. And yes, I'm jumping to the end at the beginning here in the review because it ties in so perfectly. We see at the beginning as the world is devolving into this sort of medieval state, and yet at the very end we have Georgie handing Maggie a book of medieval technology. A book of medieval human achievement. A key to the future. So I thought that it was kind of that perfect continual theme because yes, they're falling back into the medieval realm, and now Georgie is offering this technology based perfectly in that time to start to sort of kickstart things forward. And it's also, I love that sequence also because it's something that I've been really pondered in the back of my head for some time is why don't we have more people aggressively attempting to re-engineer things, to grab a hold of that. Now, Georgie sort of puts it out in her little story of what's going on in the world, not a lot of communities. It's brought out the best and the worst, but the worst is outpacing the best at the moment. So it would see that you'd kind of have this dip off as technology was lost and society kind of caved down, that you might have this extra fall before it starts to rise up a little bit. And now we have somebody going around sharing that type of knowledge. And again, just sort of a kickstart. Get things going with the technology we have, and then we can get back to maybe getting the electricity and anything else going right there. So I love the fact that we're starting to really embrace that idea. But to cover that little arc here, this is the sort of the Maggie, the temptation arc that we have dealing with everyone. Do we take advantage of these people that are out there because they shouldn't be alive, as Enid is saying? They're dumb. They shouldn't be alive anyway. We should just take their stuff and use it for them. And this seems to be where the whole Carl death is going to constantly come up and play. And in some ways, I understand it. It also started to be a little annoying. Now, understandably, time-wise, this is like the next day. Carl died yesterday, or I think maybe even technically this morning. from where we are time-wise. Everything is crunched so quick. So being emotional and honoring and remembering, that makes sense. Again, if you just died this morning. But that idea of what would Carl do, I think is going to be that continual theme we have, because that's what Michonne uses against Enid. I mean, the fact that Enid's stepping up to Michonne and kind of throwing Carl in her face, that wasn't really smart. Definitely step back, Enid. But that's where that's where we're going to have the conflict. We've lost all these things. Where are we supposed to do? We need to survive. But as Michonne is saying, and Carl constantly hit on, but there has to be a tomorrow. So this is going to be the thing. Here's the temptation. You are tempted with knowledge that you could just take, or you could do the right thing and agree with it because you have to make allies. There has to be a tomorrow. You can't just take from everyone. And of course, that was instantly rewarded once she made the right choice, once Maggie made the right choice to go ahead and give the records and not take their food, is they were given the food anyway. And I think that's because even that whole offering was basically a litmus test. I will pass on this knowledge once I see what kind of person you are. Are you going to take the stuff, or obviously I'm thinking kind of like Aaron, they have watched the community for a little while. They know the type of people that they are. That seemed to be implied by what Georgie was saying. But still, that's the litmus test. Are you going to take the stuff, in which case you won't get anything, unless you really search through the truck, and then you can find that packet of information. But still, putting that aside, more along the lines of, if you take the deal, that shows the type of person you are, unless you are deserving of greater things. Because yes, once you get under this and there's any other communities, then you have bigger trade, you have more stuff, and you have, I was saying, a whole world opening up bigger than Maggie could have possibly imagined. And haven't seen Maggie that happy in a long, long time. Alright, so most of the rest of the episode, of course, pretty much dealing with the Negan-Rick fight and the whole Simon-Dwight discussion looking for usurpation. Let's start off actually with the whole Simon and Dwight bit, which, was interesting because as the episode opened up and we had Negan talking with Simon about, okay, we are ready to go, you could see even from that point Simon's reaction, smiling with Negan looking at him, definitely falling into a bit of a frown, more of the I'm not necessarily on board with this. Now, I have to say, I was thinking initially, maybe he is also not real happy with the whole zombie guts thing. But that doesn't seem to be the case. No, this is Simon taking the opportunity presented to him, specifically in this episode, to make a new move forward with the Saviors. Makes sense, him connecting up with Dwight right there, who wanted nothing more to kind of shoot ahead and try and warm Hillside. But I love the sort of discussions we have. I mean, I've already mentioned how much I love Simon when he gets his kind of big personality brought on. The way his cadence of speaking, his big thesaurus language use, I think is all quite wonderful. And I like Dwight being cautious on this, because however much Simon might be putting out this, let's betray Negan, let's get rid of him, let's step forward, I wouldn't trust him as far as I would throw him. Because he could just as easily get Dwight to then go ahead and admit, yeah, I've been thinking about this, and then betray him and turn him into Negan. Which I love that little moment between Dwight and Simon, where Simon actually asks him, haven't you ever thought about it? It's like, what? You mean after he took my wife and set my face on fire? No, never even crossed my mind once. It was just kind of the perfect response. But I also love how he took advantage of the opportunity. He sees the car going. He looked into the alleyway and he saw Rick's truck coming at him. Didn't necessarily know it was Rick, but certainly not right. But he didn't stop, he didn't slow down, he just kept moving like it didn't happen. And then when he gave that little explanation, back up, we got to do this thing, you saw that little smile on his face. He is working this. He is definitely taking advantage. He knows that things are changing. Negan is not necessarily the big powerhouse that he was. There's too much going on with the people underneath him to sort of expect. Because that's the other thing that I noticed real off in the beginning of this is how many people are lying straight to Negan's face? I mean, Negan rules by intimidation, by strength. You can't do falsy moves and backstabbing and stuff underneath him in order for him to maintain his power. He's got to clamp down on that. And he seems like a very observational guy. But we have Eugene lying to him. We have Father Gabriel lying to him. We have Simon lying to him. We have Dwight lying to him to his face. And maybe he doesn't entirely believe them, but certainly allows it to go on long enough for the underlings to think that they can get away with stuff, which is, I think, really where Simon is seeing this opportunity come up. So once he sees Rick taking him out, it makes sense. And I love also, again, how he orchestrates all the saviors who are ready to go and help Negan. No, this could be a trap. We got to be safe. Again, big personality, love that. And then just goes out, ropes Dwight into it. And I love the blood and setting the thing on fire and coming back. Now, of course, the downside is while Simon seems to have said his plan is to get out, let's move on, he's not going to be moving on without actually taking out Hillside. You saw what happened with the Heapsters. Simon has a whole kill kind of joy going on. In fact, he's the one that shot Maggie's guy in the back seat after they went and caught him up and when they escaped from Sanctuary. He gave his guy a chance, and he's the one that shot him. So Simon's very kill happy at this moment. And I think Dwight's now maybe in even a little tougher spot, because it's not just wounding, now it's wiping him out. And how is he going to get away and warn them? Not much of an opportunity for him to do that. And Rick and Negan, the joyful meat of this episode. And I have to say, as this whole sequence started off, when we see Rick seeing the saviors going, he's out there, he's ready to honk that horn, give the warning shot, but no, once he sees Negan, holds off. I'm like, man, how many times have we seen people running off to do things on their own, not doing it coordinated, and having it blow up in their face? So that kind of mindless quest for revenge kind of threw me off at the moment, but the rest of the episode I thought really kind of kept up nicely. I love the car chase. I don't get a lot of car chases here on The Walking Dead, so that was kind of cool. I was bummed out that we missed the car crash. I actually had to rewind and jump back. I'm like, did I blink? Did I wrong? I didn't grab a sandwich. Which, you know, from a budgetary strength, you got to do a car and you got to make it look right and you got to do. I mean, there's a lot of coordination involved in doing that with everything else going on in the episode. I can get where you've got to make choices on your money, but it did kind of throw me off on the pacing. Because once that chase started, I was like, yeah, we're going, you know, this is great. And then when we had that sort of block, again, I thought that I had missed something. We, of course, have the bucket of blood, which is now all over the car. Not as much on Negan as I thought there was going to be. From the red light, I think it got on the windshield, and that's what it was shining through, making it look like initially he was all covered up. But then we get a good another kind of chase scene after that. Well, Rick shooting a lot of bullets, not at anything. Just perfect sign of just conservative on the ammo. Don't have to empty the whole car. You empty your magazine with the machine gun, then he empties the pistol, chasing after him. Gives Negan the opportunity to come back. I have to say, though, again, unexpectedness, I didn't think Rick was going to throw the axe, his hatchet. That was perfect. I don't think Negan was expecting that either. And then we get down into the big underground kind of stalking bit, which really I thought was beautifully well done. And in fact, in the midst of that is what we are going to call our Scene of the Week for this week. I mean, the whole sequence you kind of covered up, but I'm gonna focus on this one at that little bit in the middle, where the scene starts out where we have Rick hunting him, whistling. Because it's the perfect turnaround. I mean, that's what it was. Right in the middle, we have that perfect turnaround between Negan and Rick. We have Rick now whistling, much like Negan was all early on, hunting them, right before we got poor Glenn and Abraham killed. So we have that kind of reversal. Then we also have Negan kind of bring up that important point of, why didn't you let me save you? I am a savior. These people, these communities in Hillside and Kingdom, they didn't lose any more people once Negan stepped in. This is how he is viewing himself as the savior. Yeah, he could have come in and done this. If Rick wasn't fighting Negan, then Carl would still be alive. Again, hitting on this constant theme. But this is where it gets reversed. I mean, again, even as Negan's trying to make this big offering, I won't even give you an opportunity. I'll cut instead of 50%, I'll take only 25%. And your people can live like 75% kings. Awesome line. You gotta come be a janitor for me. This awesome deal. Even within that, you're seeing it's like, you're not just saving people, you're using them as slave labor to gather stuff for you. I mean, yes, it's some sort of community, but it's not a helpful one. It's not a beneficial. It's not it's more of a parasitic relationship in its way. Yeah, I'll keep you alive, but only so you can keep bringing me stuff. Because it's right there. And this is where Rick is able to reverse it now, now can bring up that conversation about the Heapsters. They're all dead. How did you save them? Oh. Just see that moment that it hits Negan. Oh, that's what happened. Seeing Simon, oh, what's going on? And then follows it up. Oh, and by the way, it's been a while. Notice that no one is coming after you. No one is coming to help you. This is when you know what friends are. Again, furthering that separation between the two of them. Now, Negan's thinking that he's on top, and by the end of this little moment, little scene, he is on the bottom, seeing that his saviors he's trying to save, he's not saving people. He's extorting people. I don't know if he's grasped that. He's got no loyalty. Nobody is coming to help him out. And then at the very end of that moment, and Rick finds Lucille. Shh. Now you don't even have that. It's just that perfect centerpiece. It was, again, like the choice, just tasty caramel nougaty center of a chocolate bar was just awesome. Really had a great turnaround. And then, of course, from that point, we get into the action. We get setting Lucille on fire. Awesome. Taking out, using flaming Lucille to open up the door where all the eaters, the rest of the walkers are. Big fight in there, back and forth. And even that was fun because you have Negan and Rick fighting each other. And at the same time, they are turning and fighting the walkers around. It's almost allies and enemies in that same moment, which is a really interesting dynamic for the two of these characters, I think, to be in. And then, of course, we get the opportunity of finding the window, going through that. Rick falls up and can't find him, cannot find Negan. Why? Because someone else had a bit of an opportunity there, Jadis. And I love that last scene because I was wondering, you knew, and they said it perfectly. Oh my God, Rick has taken Negan captive. Why? Why wouldn't he kill him? Is he taking him back to Hillside? Is it going to be some justice? Is he going to do a trial? Is he going to give it to Maggie to help do it? You're asking all these questions, and then the camera just pans, and there's Jadis with the gun to his head. And, you know, of all those opportunities, that was the best one Negan could have thought of happening. At least he has, at least just one person and not a whole community. All right, just a couple of small things here. One, that first scene between Rick and Daryl, I thought was rather nice. Very bro-tastic kind of scene. But in that, we sort of have a way of, in that sort of brief moment, we have the two of them basically reconciling all of their issues, which they haven't really had the opportunity to. I mean, again, remember, like a day or two before, they were fighting. I mean, bro fighting, like not really mad at each other, but kind of. And apologizing for their own overstepping. It was a brief, again, it's like half sentences, grunts, and smiles. It's all man speak. But I thought it was a great encapsulation of the two of them sort of acknowledging how both of them overstepped their bounds. You know, for Daryl, he was apologizing, going after Sanctuary, but I just wanted it over. And I wasn't thinking who else was going to be there. I just wanted it done. Rick, on the same thing, having to acknowledge, look, I didn't want innocent people killed. I just wanted our own people safe. You try to do the right thing and occasionally get overzealous and you overstep your bounds. But they both acknowledge that, and then we have, of course, the brief Carl sort of moment. This is going to be throughout the season. I'm just glad they're not doing it. They're not milking it too much. It's there, but not too much. And then, you know, finally with the big thanks to get to Alexandria. That's sort of how they're able to do it. We both overstep things, but I'm all right. I'll get over my son. We'll do it together. And thank you for watching, everyone else. Silent bro hug and move on. So it was a nice scene. It just, again, sort of half sentences and grunts. Very, very bro scene right there. It's how men settle stuff. Oh, and the scene, the zombie fight scene with the fire, Lucille, yeah, perfectly illustrates why fire is not an effective weapon against zombies or walkers. They're already dead. Now they're just on fire, shambling at you, setting everything else around them on fire. Yeah, just not a good at fire. That's why flamethrowers really not a good anti-zombie weapon at all. I know I mentioned it before, but seriously, Negan trying to negotiate a deal with Rick, where he's got to be a janitor and people are just screwed over slightly less than normal. You got to give it to Negan, man. He's got it. He's got something. You know, it's a small thing, but aren't the saviors kind of surrounding Hilltop? I mean, because with the Alexandrians, Daryl, they had to go through the swamp in order to get past the lines. How did Rick and Michonne get there? I mean, quick, too. They already went to the Heapsters and everything, and I don't know. It's a small thing. Just, I was curious. Georgie's request for phonographs, I thought, was perfect. Because, I mean, phonographs are a simple technology. You don't need a whole lot to it. You can have a crank record player that you can crank up in order to play. Those were actually old record players. But they will preserve their sound for a long time. As long as they're not scratched up or subjected to a lot of heat and warping, they'll hold their sound for a long time. CDs will also, but much more technology in playing it. You have the laser CD player and stuff that can easily be lost or damaged, difficult to then replace or repeat. Same thing with computers. The internal stuff isn't going to last forever. You'll have degradation. Hard drives are lost. You'll lose all of that information. Even old cassette tapes, the glue that keeps the iron flakes on there to set up the sort of magnetic wave, the glue on that fails after a decade or so or more. If you listen to old tapes, that's why they start falling apart. So just the idea of using phonographs as a way, one, where you can keep listening to records, you keep listening to the music, but also as a way to really preserve that knowledge, I thought was just, it was clever, was smart. All right, well, I think that pretty much covers everything. So next week, of course, Simon's going to be arriving up at Hilltop with his army of saviors and their nasty bio-coated weapons, which is just really curious to see how that siege is going to lay out. I think it's going to get nasty. Anyway, can't wait to see that. Thank you so much, though, for joining me on this review. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down in the section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Subscribe if you're not. Quick, it's easy. You hit this button, you catch all these reviews. Plus, again, Legion starting up next month. Westworld Season 2. So much awesomeness. Don't miss it. We'll throw up a couple here you can check out. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.